Assalamualaikum semua Jibu and friends. We are from Group 1 and we will be presenting the topic of realism theory. My name is Siti Hajar binti Ahmad Kamil and I will start this presentation. Realism emerged and dominating international relations after World War II. According to Thucydides, a philosopher and a founder of classical realism, realists view human nature as egoistic and selfish. Besides Thucydides, there are more philosophers that explain about realism, such as Niccolo Machiavelli, Thomas Hobbes, and Hans Magentau. Realists believe that states are rational actors and the basic unit, and they need to keep, increase, and demonstrate the power to survive in this anarchical system of international relations. In realism, war is natural and it holds pessimistic view on peace. So that's all from me. I will pass the presentation to Awada. Thank you.
Thank you, Hajar. My name is Nurul Awada Mehdi Mahdi, and I will discuss on issue of realism. The first issue is realism views states as the only main important actor within the international system. This is because only state has the monopoly of legal authority to settle disputes between individuals and groups within its jurisdiction, other states and foreign actors. Realism assumes that the action of other actors is influenced and delimited by state decision and state control. It is an important misleading term that need to be fixed. This is because with foreign policies present in the 20th century circumstances in which non-state entities such as non-governmental organizations, multinational companies, and terrorists have already played a vital position in the international political structure. The inability of realism to integrate these marginal but important players into the framework of political realism has the ability to weaken the importance of realism to the current understanding of foreign relations. The second issue is Euro-realism, white realism, or great power realism. It is a term that happen when contemporary realist theories focus their study on Europe and the Americas, while in Africa, Asia, and Latin America are barely ever mentioned in their study. If there is ever reference of their study of third world nation, it is often in reference to the impact of that major power politics have on them. The issue is the establishment of a holistic practical philosophy that fits first, second, and third world countries in their study. The third issue is realism theoretical conception assume that power is the most significant ingredient to be pursued in the foreign framework. It's an assumption that requires to be objectively re-evaluated. State often pursue security and economic development over power. As a matter of fact, state often pursue protection at the cost of control. This shows that the issue here is when the realism is to focus on power while they tend to ignore the other factors such as security and economic development. That's all from me. Thank you. Now I will pass to the next presenter.
My name is Wan Muhammad Muklis bin Wan Syamshahari. I will explain about the party involved in realism theory. The first party involved in realism theory is state. The first assumption of realism is that state is the principal actors in international relations. Other bodies exist, such as individual and organization, but their power is limited. Second is state is a unitary actors. National interest, especially in time of war, lead the state to speak and act on within a one voice. State also live in a context of anarchy, that is, in absence of anyone can be in charge internationally. The often said analogy is that of there being no one to call in a international emergency help to underline this point. Within our state, we have police force, militaries, court, and so on. In an emergency, there is expectation that this institution will do something in response. Internationally, there is no clear expectation that anyone or anything will do something, as there is no established hierarchy. Therefore, state ultimately only rely on themselves. For example, in 1990s, the North Korea announced that they does not allow any inspection of nuclear facilities by other countries.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Zahirul Haq, and I would like to resume on the parties involved in the realism. First of all, we must know that in realism theory, one of the main reasons that will seek by the other state is to seek the power. As we know, power is one of the reasons or the key concept that the states were fighting each other. One of the notable scholars in realism theory is Niccolò Machiavelli. Niccolò Machiavelli is an Italian statesman and also the founder of the concept Machiavellians. In his famous workbook, The Prince, Machiavelli has defined the concept of power, and it also shows how to gain the power, how to maintain, and how to expand the power itself. One of the primary focus of Niccolò Machiavelli in realism theory is on the national security. One survival state is important in realism theory. Thus, the leader should always defend the interests of the state and ensure its survival. Thus, there were two types of power that we can identify in this theory. First is on the hard power, which is the use of military or economics to influence the behavior of other state. The hard power is often categorized as aggressive and most immediately effective when imposed to other states, while the soft power is the use of diplomacy, culture, or history to influence other states. However, there are certain states that achieve high level of power that are threatening other states. Thus, the other states need to use the balance of power concept in order to counter the high level power achieved by their neighbor state. The balance of power concept can be defined as one or more states' power being used to balance of another state or interest group. One of the methods that can be used in order to balance the power is by building up the capabilities. For example, they can building up their military defense in order to secure their position from the threatening states. But the most effective method that can be used by other states in order to secure their position is by forming an alliance between states and another states. For example, like we can see that during the rise of the Emperor Napoleon in France, another states, for example, like England, Spain, and Austria, has formed their coalition in order to curb the rise of Napoleon, in which the result was his defeat and being exiled in Saint Helena. Thus, the concept of the balance of power that we can see is enemy of my enemy is my friend. This is the concept that is used by other states in order to gain to form their alliance in order to secure their states from the neighboring states. For example, like during Cold War, United States of America has formed NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, alliance to counter the Warsaw Pact by the Soviet Union. Next, another concept that we can identify in the realism theory is based on the power distribution. Power distribution can be defined as the different ways of power being distributed among states in international system. Power distribution concept can be applied to all states in the world, but the concept itself mostly being used in the great power system. The power distribution, also known as polarity, the polarity of an international power distribution can be refers to the number of independent states centered power centers in the system. For example, like we have three kind of polarity. First is multipolarity, which means that there were more than two nations that share equal impact in terms of military, economic, and culture. For example, like during World War II, there were the multipolarity concept being used. We have there are states, for example, like Great Britain, German, United States of America, and Soviet Union, which have equal distribution of power. Next is the bipolarity. Bipolarity concept can be defined as two nations that share equal power in terms of military, economic, and culture. For example, like we can see after during the Cold War, there were two nations that have same equal in terms of power. For example, which is Soviet Union and United States of America. Meanwhile, unipolarity can be defined as only one states that distributed their power in terms of military, economic, and culture. For example, like we have America, United States of America, after the fall of Soviet Union in 1991. Next, there were also a theory that can be used in order to explain the process of power distribution in international system. For example, like the power transition theory. Power transition theory is a theory that been developed by A.F.K. Organsky in 1958 with his textbook World Politics. The power transition theory is a theory that explains the nature of war as the cycle in terms of cycle in international system. The power transition theory suggests that the largest war in the world was result from the challenge to the top position in the hierarchy, when a rising power is surpassing the most powerful state. We can see that most of the war in world is from the one rising power to challenge the already most powerful state. Thus, we can associate the theory itself with the concept of polarity. The polarity before the Second World War was multipolarity, but after the Second World War, the polarity itself changed to the bipolarity. The theory also suggests that the peace can only be achieved after there was only one state that firmly stand in the top of hierarchy, while other states know their roles in their hierarchy in its hierarchy itself. It shows that there were balance of power between the states at the time.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Nur Adilah binti Muhammad Buhari and I will be explaining about the suggestion and recommendation to solve the issue of the realism theory. The first suggestion or recommendation that I could provide to address the issue and problem in the realism theory, as stated by my friend earlier, is consider the role of the non-state actor. Since the first issue in this theory is realism view state as the main dominant actor, I would like to recommend that beside the state actor, non-state actors should also be focused in international relation to ensure the national interest can be achieved. Although in the past history, most scholars working within the realism generally do not place non-state actor at the center of their theoretical proposition, but in this present day, we cannot simply dismiss the real function of the non-state actor. What I want to suggest here is, in order to have a stable international relation objective and goal, state and non-state actors should work together because both of them need each other to achieve the maximum development and continuous benefit in terms of the security, economy, and other vital interests. For example, multinational companies (MNC) can help government to secure the economy of nation through their profit, as well as play significant role since they can interfere with the law. Move to the second recommendation to the issue in realism theory. The suggestion is effort should be geared toward establishing universal realist paradigm that encompass both great power and medium power politics. Instead of focusing to Eurorealism, white realism and great power realism, the theory should balance the power to secure the international interest. If the concept of Eurorealism or white realism is still practicing until today, the other nations feel burdened or threatened to the bound that have been developed by the great power. Thus, it is important to have balance of power in international relations, since it was the process that can counterbalancing coalition, by which can prevent one state from conquering an entire region, as described in the issue of the Eurorealism. For example, in today's situation, we can see how America have a great power in the international relation, which what happened to them will affect to the other country. Last but not least, regarding the issue power is the most important thing in realism theory, the recommendation would be is bargaining and alliance. Although power is important in international relations to ensure security, economic development and interest, but if the power that one nation have not been used in a proper way, it could invite the danger and war. Therefore, the bargaining element is significant to solve the issue because bargaining can act as a direct communication in an attempt to reach the agreement so that they can have a win-win situation. Furthermore, alliance also could be important where there is a coalition of states that coordinate their action to accomplish some benefit. For example, the alliance can be written in treaties to address the issue of the international security faced by the certain region. So that's all for the suggestion or recommendation to solve the issue in the realism theory, and I will pass to the next presenter to continue the presentation. Thank you.
In conclusion, realism theory is the study of foreign relations that have a given professional tradition. It is very important to learn in international relations. There are many issues occur in relation theories like realism views state as the main dominant actors and many more. Realism is emphasizing the role of the state and the concept of the state based on its security and powers. The consideration of the suggestion and recommendation like consider the role of non-state actors and all the suggestion as mentioned by Adila really needs to be taken in order to solve the realism issues. So that's all from us. Thank you.